Yo, what's up, guys? Oh, yeah, I did unlock a new character now. Let's go with her. Maybe I... Damn, there's not a lot of rests on this one. Still, R&D path. It's also this one, I guess. But I don't need to shop that early. Maybe that path? Oh, fuck it. So many blocks. I like this character because you get more cards. I appreciate that. I like it, in fact. I need it. Kinda sucks that this ended up just being a mob, but whatever. No. Apply weak. I think we'll just apply weak. Upgrade 2 random cards. Sure, but... Okay, it's not max HP. Good. Cool. I'll try and get as many just zero cost cards as I can get, probably. But this character also just has like a nice balance of attack and a lot of block. So at least when you have to get through the early stages, it does feel pretty good. I kinda need another block. Oh fuck. That ain't ideal. Oh, he swapped his tactic. Maybe it's fine now. Oh yeah, he's gonna split. Shit. That's actually not great. Spend the Wukong as well.
Select your god.
I'm done dealing with Wukong for now. After those games yesterday. No more of that nonsense. Do I need the heal? Maybe. I'll choose next time. Okay, let's see if this parallel game goes any better than last time. Probably can't. Last time was very successful. But this could be extra boring, because from what I'm seeing on the enemy team, that's gonna be Vulcan solo. And if it's Vulcan solo, it's gonna be tank aspect, isn't it? That would be quite boring. Yeah, fuck. Oh well. I'll try Bluestone this time. And I guess I'm just gonna have to go straight into Sanguine. Last time I had Warriors, which is nice enough for the poke, but like she's already mana hungry. She's kind of in the same vein as like Nemesis, where it feels like if you don't have Bluestone early on, you can't really ability spam despite you even having rebuff. You're just so mana hungry. So what the fuck? Where's there a Thumper here? Looks like my
Be careful, middle. Minions have
jungler isn't starting with me though. Truly unfortunate. Bro, what's happening in mid? He's dead. Unless he's not dead, that would be lucky.
Good fortune to you in the battles ahead.
Quit annoying me!
Ow. It's kind of a mystery why I did this, but at least this way we're gonna be even. No blue for you either.
enemy has been slain. Vista, amigos.
This matchup early is just so tough, man. There isn't really much to do as a melee character into D80 ranked. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna change it at this point. It's gonna be there eventually, so, right? surely. Oh, I have Relic on Susano. That's nice. That certainly helps. Pepe, laugh your ass. I'll get there, Sav. Actually, Sav, where are you at now? I haven't met you, like, you and Nick in a little while now, I feel like. In the last few days. Just got home. I made in ranked. I made in ranked, Sav. Why are you trolling me? I'm too tired for this shit. I almost just woke up.
Retreat.
5.2, gotcha. Ugh, a Vulcan tank, Sav. Why do I have to deal with this shit? I'm not sure there is a more boring laner to be against, to be honest. This might have to be the one. Nemesis? Yeah, sure, I suppose. She is pretty bad as well right now.
In Duo both ultimates down.
I was hesitating on whether I should even go in. I want to get blue, but it's a bad idea.
I'm going to pass out.
I'll settle for Warhorn for now. Spag can get Sash and make Vulcan's life even worse. What next? Probably just go into regrowth, so I can maybe just be fast. Surely regrowth works on her 3 in the aspect, right, Soph? Any knowers? How much longer got vacation? I hate to break it to you, but I always have vacation. I'm not even sure I'm bragging, to be honest. It gets pretty boring. I don't have work. It works? Okay, great. No, I missed. Oof. I was wondering when I heard it go off. And then he died and I didn't see it. Why was it so slow?
On my way.
I forgot he had Shell. Dude, he has Shell though. Like, how is he ever gonna survive into their team comp? In our, sorry, our team comp. We have Ares Hades. My man went Shell. This guy's got the biggest balls in this game. I assume his TP is down this time, so let's go for the wave.
Your middle tower is under attack.
It's just me. Don't see any reasons, at least, to go for a brawlers this game. I would have liked, though. I would have enjoyed it. I actually thought I was gonna finish him off, but good thing Susanoo showed up.
Enemy missing left.
But yes, Ab, I mean, it's not exactly a secret, I guess. I just don't really talk about it, but I mean, I do have autism, so... I know that doesn't necessarily translate to not having work, but it does in my case.
Be careful.
I have some issues when it comes to work, so... I don't have work as a result of that. So I just chill. Do whatever. Which can be very boring, but you get used to it, I guess. No, not the cheap viewers. Anything but the cheap viewers, man. Spare me. Alright, let's take care of that. Mods, where are we? I'll do it myself. It's too early for the mods to be here. Overestimating my jump a little bit. Ew. Yeah, fuck it. Random elephant showed up.
Your right tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Let's back off. Finish up regrowth. There's some passion on this side of the map. Look at him.
Your right tower is under attack.
Seriously?
Enemy missing left.
Yeah, the queues are pretty bad lately, I feel like. As well, to be honest with you. Wait, what do I buy now? Probably just like a good old Contagion.
On my way.
I've definitely enjoyed the games, but I do feel like, specifically like the last 2 or 3 days have been pretty rough. There hasn't been any like good queues going really, or like high level queues.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy ultimate down!
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower is destroyed.
Seriously?
Your left tower is under attack.
Not too sure the Vulcan tank here is really worth it for us to go on anymore. Maybe if he's just alone and too far up or some shit, but in front of his own tower, that seems like a mistake now.
Enemy missing.
Their whole team's here? Their whole team is here! What the fuck, dude? Even the ADC showed up! Oh, well, that's a jungler. Okay, except for the Apollo then. Thought Kali was the ADC.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
That's so weird. I can't believe they actually got something out of that. And because this is a low elo queue, there was no call for gold or anything like that. Not that I think they could have with Apollo still being in left, but... The search for the Pele pick. I don't play this god, man. Let me try her sometimes. It's like my second time playing her
Is under attack.
in Smite 2.
Your
Not
middle
entirely
tower
true,
is
but...
under attack.
In recent months, it is my second time, because I don't play her. She's so boring usually for me.
Ally has been slain.
Aw man, they just yoinked my ward. Fuck.
Your right tower is under attack.
I liked Nem at the beginning, but now that she's kind of like mainstream, I don't like her as much anymore. I thought it was fun because it was something new and interesting, but now I'm also tired of her. I end up losing interest pretty fast if something becomes too powerful. Like sometimes I'll just get a random interest like I did with Bari, and she's always been OP to be real, so I mean, when are you ever gonna play her then? This poor Vulcan.
Putting myself on vacation!
Like, there are a few cases where it's not like that for me. Like, Hades was really OP, and I really did enjoy him just because of how he played. Same thing with Aladdin, I suppose, but... Aladdin and Bari are weird, because they've been OP in their whole, like, lifetime, pretty much. So at some point, obviously, I'm playing them, even though they're OP. But for the most part, if something is niche, and I'm enjoying playing it, but I feel like it's really strong, I love the shit out of it. But if it suddenly becomes mainstream, it loses a bit of that nice, like, niche, cool part of it that I really enjoy. I like playing something that is unexpected and not something people would just expect is going to be super OP. It's probably why I like playing Stu solo. Like, that shit is really, really successful for me, all things considered, and no one else really plays it, so I really enjoy it. But if suddenly Stu showed up and became a top solo, I don't think I would enjoy it as much. No, I died mid-jump! Man!
Apollo ult incoming, be careful mid.
Ooh, that guy sounds really Danish. Yeah, now they're just everywhere. Nem is super boring now, Pele is super boring. This is just a one-time occurrence for me as well. Oh, we're ulting that too. Nice. Sav, what the fuck do I even buy here? Do I just go into Nemean or some shit? Maybe some cooldown in Freya's?
Your right tower is under attack.
Herg is really fun, but I'm starting to feel the same thing, because it just feels like you just run down people so easily that it's, like, where's the challenge at this point, you know? I feel like Herg is in the same vein for me as Pele. While I do enjoy playing it, it's more like... just every time you pick it, you feel like you have a gigantic influence on the game.
Take this jungle. What's new?
Quit annoying me! Okay.
Obviously, that's not a bad thing. If you want to have like a impact on the game, then why am I hearing fire making noises?
Enemy has slain.
He's so fast! Hello? Why is he so fast? Oh. What the fuck? What the fuck? Hello? Help! Team! So it still doesn't work like an actual jump. I didn't actually know that.
Your team has destroyed the fire tower. You owe me big time.
Yeah, dude, tier would be so much fun. I don't know if I would enjoy tier as much as I do now, but tier was my second most played warrior. I think season 11 Vamana actually overtook, because he just became my go-to god again. But in season 11, pre-Vamana, tier was my most played warrior in terms of worshippers.
Careful middle.
And Hebo was my most played mage. So I'm also looking forward to that. I know people will hate it, but I'm gonna play it anyway. Guan Yu also used to be one of my favorites, but he is definitely not in Smite 2. And I don't think it's because it's like different in Smite 2. It's just me not really liking the god as much anymore. The way he plays. He's not the damage dealer I fell in love with. Now he's just a support. It's just a support in disguise. She just dashed in front of the tower, but I guess we weren't ready to follow them up. And I believe Hades got 1v1 by the Apollo. Somewhere on left. Unfortunately. That's not great. I'm pretty sure Hades wins that matchup, to be honest with you. The root! Holy, Susanna went in there.
Your right tower is under attack.
Yo, not enough damage. Man. I mean, I'm not taking any damage though. What a character.
On my
On my
way.
way.
Did he not stop him from back? He did, okay. Move! Move! Oh my god, the silence.
Gank middle lane. On my way.
Let me leave!
Your left tower.
Oh my god, dude. The fucking Ganesh is the bane of my existence this game. That silence really fucks me.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
My bad, I guess, for overchasing. Actually, I want to finish Bluestone first.
Retreat right lane.
We can do Pyro after that. I think the right bird is dead.
Oh, he's definitely not Danish. Never mind. There's an accent underneath that.
Help!
Hey, Speed Susano.
Well, that's too bad, Sonny.
No. Doesn't see. Wait, well. I guess he has Dagger, but the rest isn't. Rate his build, Sav. What is that? Is that normal now? I don't play Susano, so I wouldn't know.
On my way. Your team has destroyed the pyramid.
To me, my soul.
Retreat.
They're all coming from right.
Retreat.
Enemy ultimate down.
Okay.
Quit annoying me.
Go away, Naga! Oh my god. See if Apollo's ulting for that. Low HP Susano here. If I wasn't silenced, I could actually use my fucking abilities.
Wash them away.
Oh my god, man. That was a huge Hades ult, man. I wish I could follow up on that better.
Enemy has been slain.
This fucking Kali fucks me up, though. She has kints. If we get Scylla here, that's still really good, though. Oh, the ult still went the other way. That's unfortunate. Tragic. Go Ares, get him. Yeah, probably ain't gonna get him unless he has Sash. He does not have Sash. He does have Mystical Mail though. Well, that shit does no damage apparently. He's reaching too much. No, that shit was so far off. Still got him though. Well done. What was the skins do to you? Let's see. Apparently it's Sunbeam Boom that fucked me up. Kins isn't even on the list, but again, that feels glitched. So, because like this is also not really doesn't look right. I'm getting something for this fucking Ganesh. At least if you're gonna CC me, I want to get more protections out of it.
Enemy missing. Ward the fire giant. The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
I think these fights would be okay if Hades just groups with us at the beginning, but he's never around. He's a lone wolf. He's just dashing people. No! Dash! Jump! Stop CCing me! I'm going for you now.
Cancel that.
Attack fire giant. Group up.
Good thing I'm so tanky, but like... We just can't... They have too many threats on their team, and I can't one-shot. I'm too tanky. I need more rocks. A lot more rocks. That dude definitely isn't worth going on for me.
Enemy spotted. Retreat left lane. Group up.
Yes. Group up.
Apollo ult.
To me, my soldiers.
Be right back.
Attack the fire giant. Your left feet.
He goes for left Phoenix. He goes for left Phoenix.
Enemy has been slain.
Thank God, the minions came out in time as well.
Retreat. Retreat.
Nasty as built. He doesn't even actually even have Sunbeam Bow anymore. No, that's Kali that has it.
Gank.
I mean, we're gonna shit out if it turns to 2v1, I think. Unless Ares actually chains her in time or some shit. I don't think I can do any damage to her. Man. I don't even know what's happening in these fights. Hades just dies, man. He just needs to press 4. Let's do the big Hades thing. And we also lost the left Phoenix somehow. I'm assuming that's because Apollo just went and took it this time and ulted away. I don't know. No, never mind. We lost it because they got fucking Pyro. Fucking hell, dude. Ugh. He just walked in and sundered. It would be nice if they fixed the T-screen. It's hard to tell sometimes what the issue is. Like, this looks normal at least. And I can't believe... I mean, it's just a bit of everything, to be honest. I should die in that case. Surely I'm giving up fire, though, right?
All I need now. Good book.
Okay, they're just on gold.
We need wards.
Yes.
Fire giant.
Retreat left lane. Retreat left lane. Retreat left lane.
What are we doing while they're all on me?
Seriously?
Apparently we're both on Ganesh. Ow!
Your team has destroyed the fire giant.
I'll be bait. I'm glad I have Relic on my team right now that I can rely on. Because otherwise I don't think this would go very well. I don't do that much damage, but I can survive for a long fucking time.
Castle. Whoop-de-doo.
That was one hell of a fight.
That game was a bit scary, because Hades just never showed up for us, dude. He kept trying to split push, and his build is terrible. Yeah, still did so much damage, though. Pele still feels very broken. That's nothing new there. That might be the tankiest I've ever felt in Smite. I could take so many hits. Dude, this is my point. Look at how little I've played Pele. I've barely touched this god. So sometimes I'll have games like that. You know, I'll play every god probably like once in a while. But now I've done my Pele game of the month. I'm probably not gonna play it for a while. Eventually I'll play Hades as well, probably. But it's not really like I'm gonna It will be when I feel like playing it. Whether they're OP or not doesn't necessarily drive me. It kind of does with Pele, I guess, because I don't enjoy the god that much. I only play her because she is actually good. And I gotta check out why she's good sometimes. It's not always easy to see. Right. Let's get a rest. Oh, well, these cards suck.
Select your god.
I don't know what to play, man. Now I'm just back to the start. In the what the fuck do I play? I'll play Yemoja again. Let me make sure. Okay, I do have aspect off. I gotta kill this thief. It's taking my gold. I need that. Now he's blocking as well. Fucking hell. I need some big damage cards here. Otherwise I'm gonna lose my gold. 6, that's fine. Yeah, he's running in this turn. Fuck, I have to kill him here. Good. Thank God. Give me some poison. Ooh. Give me that. Wait, what? Damn, that's kind of crazy, actually. So I can't do less than 5 damage. That's kind of nice. That would make some cards really OP, but...
You know I can swallow you in one go.
Oh fuck no, they have Relic on that Susano. Shit. Is this a death toll situation? No, I prefer warriors. Let's just do the usual. What I know at least works for me. I do wonder if Sanguine would be okay with this. I mean, it's OP on everything, to be real, but... Suppose I just wasn't planning on really doing it.
Do you need help with blue?
You can start somewhere else if you want. Like, blue is always better start for me, but I don't need to if you want to start somewhere else.
Yes.
All right.
I do need the blue though. Fuck, dude, not having blue on fucking the emoji now is gonna be a pain in the ass.
Unbelievable.
At least it isn't mana that I use, so whatever, but it does help the region.
Just rained on your parade. All right.
Because then you're really not supposed to.
My radiance. Right there.
If you're early, you just wait.
Moira is annoying with this, because you can just dash out on my one so easily.
Your middle tower is under attack.
It's gonna be available to him so much.
Enemy has been slain. Battle completed.
Great lags too. Love those.
Ally has been slain. My blade. Your middle tower is under attack.
Some other time.
I sense your fear.
Forth in gleaming shards.
Unfortunate.
Right.
Man.
Please.
I didn't really want to fight, to be real. I was not really
Under attack.
healthy enough for this.
Nobody wanted to trade with me. I suck.
Your right tower is under
That's fine, don't worry about it.
Have returned to base.
I guess that also explains why he took blue. He just didn't know the start. Well, without beads, I do have to be a little bit more careful here. No, man! I was gonna try and lock him in. It was a bad ult anyway, it wouldn't have worked. All because of that Susano gank, I didn't have beats. It's cooked.
Your right tower is under attack.
Why could I even aim it to try and lock him in? I guess he has to be inside the tower for that to even work. He wasn't really. Oh, my lane is gonna be pretty cooked now.
Your right tower is under attack.
Probably would have been anyway with Susano controlling the game.
Yo, enemies have returned to base.
Enemies in the left jungle.
My blades hunger.
Shit, man. I lost blue as a result of that too. I'm just dead. Yeah, I gotta get brawlers up. Braggis first.
Sorry guys, I just never ever jungle.
Bring forth water's halo.
Fabuloso. Good one.
And then Susano's not banned. It's just
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the total shield.
Now. Halt right there.
My chances now that I have Braggis, maybe I can get a kill. It's my goal for this game. It's lost either way, but if I get a solo kill, that'd be huge. Problem is, he went for the item that would fuck me up the most. So yeah, I mean that makes sense. He already has a full or lash, so ain't no way I can kill him.
Gleaming shards.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Bear my radiance.
Yeah, he's just too tanky as a result of it too. It's cooketh. Yeah, would expect no less.
Enemies in right lane.
What would I even go in a case like this? Because I'm just cooked, I think, either way. I don't really think I have any chance.
Wash them away. Your right tower is under attack.
Spectacular.
I have you now. Enemy cancel that.
But hey, on the positive side, at least half the deaths on our team is basically me. So if the rest of my team is doing okay, then maybe things will be okay.
Forth in gleaming shards.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Could try to TP actually. After my blue.
Okay.
The Pyromancer has arrived. Your right tower is under attack.
That's insane, she heard that.
Enemy missing right. Enemy missing right.
Your right tower is under attack.
Like the sun breaks the night.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing middle. Be careful right. Be careful right.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your middle tower is under attack.
What could I go next? I don't think I want to Vital Lamp.
Golden nectar. Just what I was looking for.
Vital Lamp is a little awkward to try and make use on this version of Bologna.
Enemy has been slain.
There, my radiance.
Fuck. Didn't realize Merlin was gonna be there too. Could actually have been a pretty good chase.
I am now.
Enemies behind. Save yourself.
Ally has been slain.
Suppose I could take his blue for that though. No, I've been beached. Get him, tower. He's so low. Nice. I'll take the trade. I managed to slow them at least. A little sad I didn't get the Susano kill though. Tower could have gotten at least one more tower shot there, but that is what it is. Get him, Hui! Oh, he did get him.
Your middle tower is
I feel like he shouldn't have died for it though. It's unfortunate, but at least it is a 1-for-1.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Do I just go crit this game?
Ally slain. Run. Range. Wash them away. Send the blood.
Enemy ultimate down.
I just ain't gonna fight. I know I can't.
Enemy missing.
Right there. There, my radiance. Like the sun breaks the night.
Man, that sucks.
Gleaming sharp.
Should have been a solo kill. Just missed many autos. Though to be fair, getting the kill to Loki is definitely the better, I think, but still,
Your middle tower is under attack.
should have been mine.
Us into the realms of light.
Fuck. Man, I wish they chased just a second more, man. Sheesh.
Enemy spotted.
Rise with the sun's strength.
What? Does your ult just go away if he breaks it? Maybe he doesn't have voice commands on.
Your left tower is under attack.
I didn't know that. If Ganesh dashes into the wall in the Hui ult, does that cancel the ult? That wouldn't make any sense. That'll be very strange of an interaction. That just makes Ganesh the biggest Hui counter in the fucking game.
Be careful.
Yo, we need war.
There, my radiance.
Enemies in the middle.
Wow. I'm really missing everything there.
Enemy missing right. To nurture the eternal flame within. Enemy missing right. Be careful left.
Enemies incoming left. The range shall wash them away. Ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. On my way.
Maybe I just go for one crit item? I don't know. I'm not sure what my last item should be, because I'm gonna go Ixie now to make sure that I do have some pen. Then last, maybe I could just go something like Titan's Bane to make sure I have a lot of pen.
Right there. There, my radiance.
At least I'm back to having 10 Omi.
Bring forth water's halo.
Ah, shit, I should TP.
Lift us into the realms of light.
Just leave gold, boys, if you can. It's not really worth it anymore.
I'll attack right lane.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold fury.
Ah, they're both gonna die, man.
Rumble before the strength of my gleaming shards. I have now. There, my radiance.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed.
Right there. Enemy spotted.
Well. They just fucking ran me down like it was nothing, I guess. We couldn't...
Is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
Okay.
Yes.
We need war. War to the fire giant.
I wish I could just talk, but...
Bring forth water's halo.
I guess most of them have it turned off this game.
War to the fire giant.
Enemies at the fire giant.
Enemy missing.
Ward.
I will not gleaming shards. Even in death. Okay.
We need ward. The enemy team has destroyed the fire giant.
Kali beats.
The gold fury.
Oh well, I don't really think we win this. Like, they just have better players, it's that simple. People with more experience.
Phoenix is under attack.
I think it's fair if Loki doesn't really play jungle. I mean, shit happens. But it just feels like Kukulkan doesn't really use logical sense in terms of his positioning. I mean, why are we just walking up when you have dagger, though? I don't get that. I need this fucking pen right now.
Your Titan is under attack.
Bear my radiance.
The Pyromancer has arrived. Your right Phoenix is under attack. Your right Phoenix has been destroyed. Your Titan is under attack.
Right there.
I definitely don't mind surrendering this one. But, okay. Well, my team decided.
Okay. Some other time.
That is unfortunate.
Yes.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
Complete.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Group up. Defend the Titan.
I do actually think if like a full tank Yemoja with the OP tank guidance will probably work out alright too. Because she is just such an ability spammer, and if you're really tanky, you can definitely do some pretty serious damage. As long as you hit the abilities. And she's got a shit ton of CC.
Your left tower
Defend
is under
left
attack.
lane. Group up.
On my way. Your left tower has been destroyed.
Forth in gleaming shards. I now bear my radiance. Gleaming shards. Like the sun breaks through light.
Phoenix has been destroyed. Your Titan is under attack. Enemy has been slain. Double kill. My blade. Your middle Phoenix is under attack.
Bluestone, no! We saved the Phoenix though. Like, what could I build to actually make a difference? I think maybe for the tanks, I actually build Kins. You know what? Fuck it. What the fuck do I have to lose at this point? Let's go Kins and hope that it just destroys the tanks. I have enough attack speed to make it work. Like, let's see. HP. HP. Motor actually isn't that high on health. He just went for all the tanky items. Ganesh, on the other hand, he went Leviathan side. He should have a pretty decent amount of HP. I mean, it's not. It's 72 extra HP, so it's really not that much. It's still less somehow than Hyde. So whatever. I mean, they should probably both have around 3k, I would imagine. At least. Hopefully it works.
The
How much do I
enemy
need
team
though?
has
500 more?
destroyed the Pyromancer. Your middle
And oh, Phoenix went down again.
Your
Fucking
middle
hell.
Phoenix has been destroyed. Okay. Okay.
Ward the fire.
Bear my radiance.
other time. Group up.
On my way.
In gleaming shards.
Enemy team has destroyed the fire giant.
Retreat! Defend the Titan.
Ah, he's probably dead. Yeah, he's so dead. Man, he should have just walked to me.
Your right Phoenix is under attack. Your right Phoenix has been destroyed.
Yeah, I think if he dies, we just kind of lose. He's our main source of damage when it comes to this. Nice cooldown damage, but it is just over.
Until we meet again.
I did fuck up my lane quite a bit. I just shouldn't have fought. But it was so hard to fight back once I got killed by Susano, and we didn't get the Mordred for it. Yeah, it is what it is. He did mention he wasn't good at playing jungle, but there is just too much shit to ban. Like, people always complain. If you don't ban Susano, people are gonna fucking complain about Susano. If you don't ban Wukong, people are gonna complain about Wukong. You know what? Like, and in my head, I have to ban Nemesis and Pele, so there's just too much shit. It's impossible. Just do that. You can't win when it comes to that stuff. Well, fuck. I guess I can save 1 HP by doing that. I should have looked to kill this one first, probably. Oh, I'm so tired as well. It might be a pretty short stream today, because I just woke up so late, and I don't feel like I'm fully awake yet. So I might keep it pretty short. Prioritize my health, I guess, and maybe go and do something else. I want to see, though. Other games today so far. It's a 1-1 situation. Maybe I'll do at least one more. We'll see how it goes. I do think the games today have been somewhat frustrating as well. Or stressful, at least. Don't like those skill potions. Shit, can I kill this dude right now? 'Cause that's a lot of damage. I guess not. I'll just take the hit. Mordred again? Ugh. Well, I'm getting real tired of dealing with Mordred. Just play Achilles. Let's do that. See if I can just execute him instead. Let's go for an upgrade. And Ganesh. I feel like there's two gods I'm really tired of dealing with today already, and it's Ganesh and it's Mordred. I'm so not in the mood for those gods. Lose 11 HP. Sure. That's fine. Let's do that one. Get some AoE. We'll rest. And I believe it's just the boss then. Alright, that's gotta wait. I'm definitely going beats. I don't want to get one shot by everything on their team.
With elegance.
My biggest question is what I start with. Is Achilles a devil god? Like, not really. I could just start with Axe and still go Sanguine later. Actually, regrowth could work as well. Hello, Zon. Actually, I'm into Mordred. Do they have more healing than one? Does Danza... Doesn't Danza have a heal as well? It's fucking 7, Nika. Well, fuck. Dude, didn't I just get super out... What is this? What? I know everyone on their team. Well... I'll start with this. I can't help but feel I'm a little cooked this game, but... We'll see. I should have gone for a safer start. I actually think I should have gone Brawlers.
Minions have spawned.
That's kind of... I guess I still can, but... It's gonna delay my buy a lot by having Axe first. Minus 450. I just wish Axe was a part of Brawlers. It would make it so much easier to buy first. But I hate not having that extra power. Especially in a god like Achilles. On some gods it's fine. Oh, he's non-aspect, so he actually has the attack speed from the 2. Interesting. I haven't seen attack speed motor in a long time. Pretty much since the aspect came out, I guess.
Shot full of surprises.
I do like the idea, though. I just think auto mode is still kind of strange, though. It just doesn't feel very good. He might start Brawlers first, though, which would really suck for me. He just went for a neutral start.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. Enemy spotted. Enemy has been slain.
Ultimate set.
Mercury under purple is so strange.
The rain shall wash them away.
Let's go mystical first. Okay. How much is Brawlers anyway? Yikes.
Allies been slain.
Excuse me? Why did my one go? What the fuck? My one was just interrupted? Huh? I was trying to one and then all the way for the stun, but that shit just didn't go off and went on cooldown. Weird. Maybe Merc 3 glitched it out somehow and just threw it in the wrong direction. What the fuck happened? That's really unfortunate. The one time I just... Like, why is Merc even there, man? He had no reason to be there. And now I'm fucking level behind, dude. XP and Smite is so stupid. How was I a level ahead? Now I'm a level behind. Of a single kill. It don't make sense. I did not think that was going to be in execute range. That really took me by surprise. Yeah, Neath death. Neath is cringe.
Enemy has been slain.
Just grab all this farm before I leave.
Your right tower is under attack.
Damn it, man. So close for my shit to be back up. That's so unfortunate. Alright, let's get this first, and then after this, I will go and finish up my axe and sanguine. I was thinking he was gonna do this. I was just hoping my abilities were gonna be back up. Because that's such a Nika thing to do. To just dive. And then, not to mention, there's no risk in it. He just Mordred, he just ults in, he sunders, and I die. But lucky for me, the ult was juked. But it wasn't enough. Yeah, I believe it is 40%. No, 35. Still, that is... quite decent of an execute range. I think Thanos is 40%. Thanos is the highest one in the game. Silpix is what, 25? Something like that?
Your middle tower is under attack. The Pyromancer has arrived. Your middle tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the gold fuel. Your left tower is under attack.
Just grab it now. Achilles probably feels pretty decent with regrowth. I definitely cannot fight him now though. Now that he's got both of those. I can try to poke, but that's as far as it goes.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. Enemy has been slain. Double kill. Your agony fuels. The enemy team has destroyed the pyro. Your right tower is under attack.
My tower, man.
Enemy missing right.
Get the Merc, please! Oh my god. I don't believe it. He's 1 HP. That's so close. Man, I'm sad I didn't get Merc there. So unfortunate. I also premature ulted again. I shouldn't have done that in the first place. I should have saved it. Maybe try to poke it a little bit more. And then just ult out if I needed to. Oh, he's so dead and left. What the fuck? Why are they all there? We just fought and right. How and why?
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under Your right tower is under attack.
No, don't fucking surrender for that. What the fuck? We can still fight back, but let's not fucking focus on the Mordred.
Enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
This is rough now. It's not worth it. I literally even just said it like on stream too. There's no way I'm gonna fight him because he has both mystical and sanguine. It's so bad for me to fight him at that stage.
Okay.
All I can really try to do is poke a little bit, but in no way I could ever fight, man. He just wins automatically by literally just being near us.
Enemy missing right. Be careful middle. Oh, easy wrong. I am sorry. Defend that lane. Enemy spotted.
No, he pulled him away. Contagion, I need you so badly right now.
How fragile we are.
I think that's another problem with Achilles, is that while he's not, in the first place, not great, he's so heavily countered by all the healing bullshit items. Like, if you go Brawler's Contagion, what the fuck are you doing as Achilles then? You heal all the time when you pressure too. You stack that shit up so fast. I straight up might need to go for my tank passive in this game. And just try and rely on being tanky.
Incoming right.
Yep, look how much that ain't worth just because of Contagion. I can't even help them.
Double kill.
Man. Too much CC. I wanted to get one low enough to execute. I think it's cooked either way though. Like with... Yeah. No, I don't want to say anything.
Your right tower is under attack.
I just don't have a good god for this. unfortunately.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramid. Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh, we have Huyi aspect as well. It's interesting. At least it's good for like anti-sieging. Let's put on some armor.
Your team has destroyed the gold fury.
Somewhat useful.
Ally has been slain. Your center is destroyed the left enemy tower. Your middle tower is under attack.
I'm not sure we're fighting outside the Phoenix, but I don't know how we defend this now. It doesn't even matter. They just have actual teamwork while we don't. It's all just so boring. We're just don't really have a chance here.
Defeat.
Yeah, Dan's aspect is really boring to deal with as well. When people just spam the clones. I just think it's one of the worst designed aspects, to be honest. Because it just doesn't make any sense. It's so broken when there's just a million clones. You can barely even see anything and it starts lagging the game. It's rough. Yeah, I'm not really feeling the game today that much, to be honest with you. I might just go do something else. I'm just tired. And I'm not in the mood to deal with weird, like... I'm just dealing with the same shit like fucking Mordred every game. It's been really fucking boring. It's only been 3 games, and it feels like it's been the longest stream I've done in a week. Oh, you want to try Sarky? I'll try one. If I'm not having fun in the next one, I'll probably just stop the stream. But sure, let's try. I mean, I'm not really helping my case by playing something different. But yeah. We're gonna try. I think it's mostly the fact that I'm just really tired. It's hard to enjoy things when you're really tired, in my opinion at least. It is for me. I just hate it. I woke up so late. I fucking hate when that happens. I think I should have just done myself the favor and not even stream once I woke up too late. But that's too late now. Also, where am I? Am I a fucking demigod yet? No. I was almost demigod, and now I'm not almost demigod. I think I need 3 wins or so to get demigod. Tragic. This is kind of not good. I kind of need some protection here. Wait, not you. Fuck, dude. Fuck, I'm trying to take some damage then. Ow. fuck. That's annoying. I can't discard it actually. Go away. Slowly but surely. How'd the previous game go? Well, the previous one did not go very well. It was just versus Nika and Sav duo queue. And I mean, the rest of his team, their team, I should say, was a bit more competent than mine was. We just didn't have any teamwork. People just got caught. We couldn't fight back as a result of it. They grouped, we didn't. All that shit, the usual shit. But my other games, I had one good game, and then 2 rough ones where I lost. So I'm 1-2 so far. Alright, I think I make this. If I get the right cards, I can maybe even end the next turn. Okay, I'm pretty sure we're against them again, right? I would imagine so. Because now, even more so now, because we're a duo queue. We will definitely be into a Sav Nika again. Bro, give me damage. What is this? I should have used this. Fuck. It's alright. Worked out. Intangible. I like this one more. I don't like the expensive cards. Why would I do that? This feels like an upgrade thing. Where maybe it's a shit upgrade now, but it gets better later. What am I picking this game? I'll play the Zeus that I wanted to play for a little while now. Should be good and safe. Well, that's not safe. Into Fenrir it's gonna be pretty rough, but if I start protection, it should be okay. I don't like any of these. I'm a big hater generally of upgrades in games where it's just like you gain this, but you lose this. Because I always, like, especially in this case, I feel like everything that you lose is a big deal, especially in a roguelike. What, are you telling me I can't get any currency anymore? You're telling me I can't loot any chests without getting a fucking curse? Fuck me. I'll just go for this one, I guess. The first one. That don't feel right. I think I go for this one. Into that. Yeah, that looks right. I could RNG it too. Let's RNG it. What could go wrong? Do I try an attack speed, Zeus? Or just a tanky Zeus? No, I think a tanky Zeus is better. I don't really think... what am I against, actually? I don't know which one of them is jungle.
What a shame. Minions have spawned.
I actually don't know what to build. Maybe I just save this axe once again. Oh, my bad, guys. I don't know why I forget it sometimes. I'm not sure why my brain decides to do that. Okay. Scrap blue.
Your middle tower
Actually, I just start Sanguine this time. I'm into magic anyway.
Cancel that. Be right back. I'm building stacks.
Your middle tower is under
What do I do next, though? Man, I wish I could do regrowth on Zeus. It would make him feel so much better with a bit of more movement speed. They don't... I mean, they have Sobek and Baron, which can proc a good brawlers. So I might do that, just so I have it. Because it's going to give me a bit extra power, too.
Fabuloso! Enemy missing right! Cancel that! Lightning bolt!
No, maybe I just go Contagion for the region. That would be kind of nice.
Enemy has been slain! The enemy team has destroyed the gold. The rain shall wash them away! Your left tower is under attack. Oh, very strong. Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh. I'm all right. Just a bit sore. Okay.
I mean, what the fuck is that? What, man? Are you kidding me? Why the babysitting? Sav! Come on, man. There's no way. I mean, at least Aladdin had... Like, that's an early power wish. And he didn't get a kill out of it, but he did get an assist out of it. And Fenrir just got another kill.
Your middle tower.
I don't fucking believe it, man.
Your right tower is under attack.
That makes me really salty. Get him.
Rain shall wash them away.
It was a bit late, but at least he died, right?
Right tower is under attack. Okay.
Attack.
Wait, what the fuck? Man, actually, maybe... Yes. Got something.
Retreat.
Enemy has been slain. Enemy missing right. With range, cancel that. Your left tower is under attack. Lightning bolt.
Mana! Oh my god. Let's kill me. The babysitting is too much. The babysitting is too much. I wish I had mana though. I wish I had mana, because then he just dies there right away.
Your right tower is under attack.
I still don't know what to go next, to be honest.
Your right tower is under attack.
Just can't really use most of the items. And I went Sanguine because it also has power, but I don't really think I want to do Mystical now. So what's the plan? Maybe Pharaohs might be my best option. Because I do need something against Fenrir. That's unfortunate. Should have waited with detonating. This isn't into, it isn't ended alone.
Gold Fury.
On my way.
On my way.
Enemy missing.
Okay.
Enemy missing right hand for that. Lightning bolt. Let the hammer rain. The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your
At least in the Aladdin is going to be pretty powerless for now. So, I should be okay. See if I can get the tower.
enemy tower. The rain shall wash them away. Your left tower is under attack. Gank left lane. On my way.
On my way. Your end comes swiftly. Sanity Kuta.
Let the hammer rain. Enemy has been slain.
Let's go Pharaohs. I gotta get some kind of attack speed.
Your right tower is under attack.
My attack speed is so depressing.
On my way. Defend the fire. Your right tower is under attack. The enemy team has destroyed the pirate. Your right tower has been destroyed.
And I still lost the tower. I should have just rotated, man. I didn't think about them getting pyro. He's gonna lose my tower anyway. But I wanted to go defend.
Attack! Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Double kill! Lightning bolt! Free your soul!
I don't even know what happened this fight. Just Fenrir killing everyone, I guess. I believe someone still told me that the passive doesn't work on Zeus's passive. So like once I hit more than one auto, the Brackett's passive don't work anymore, which is fucking stupid, by the way. So I don't want to go do that. Just dash away. I don't know why he's not doing that. We're just feeding Aladdin now for no reason.
Enemy spotted! Cancel that. Help! Your left tower is under attack. Follow me!
I mean, why are we even landing on him? I don't understand. What's the logic here? Why are we doing that? I want to trust the call here, but there is zero logic in landing on Aladdin here. Fuck, man. I'm just falling further behind for literally no reason. It's so frustrating. This is how it's been all day. Stand stun him when he's in wall running. It doesn't. It's really fucking stupid. The wall running just immune stuns.
Enemy team has destroyed the pyromancer.
Everything is stupid.
On my way.
Your left tower is under attack.
Defend the fire.
That's gonna end up being the stream name.
Okay. Retreat, right lane.
It's fucking Izanami showing up, taking my waves as well. It's really not helping the situation. I need this farm so badly. It doesn't matter. It's over. I want to press yes. If I hit that chain lightning, it would be fucking huge, but I miss it, so... Oh, I'm just tilted at this point. I don't want to play. I'm so out of it right now. I am very surprised that they haven't nerfed some things in this meta. It feels Hyra is just so off with how they're balancing things. They haven't really touched anything since, like, obviously when they came out last week. But like these items are still so oppressive. I'm so behind now. I definitely won't do any damage to anyone.
The pyro has arrived.
Well, Neath is on the left. Surely they're not going to fire right now. But they will definitely go pyro.
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. The enemy team has destroyed the pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack. Enemy spotted.
See ya!
Premature beats. Not ideal.
Your team has
They were low though.
gold fury.
I don't know why Bacchus waited so long to go in.
Wash them away.
Trying to help the person in the cage.
Waltzy.
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt.
Your output exceeds.
We probably still have a small chance of fighting back, but I have to chill while my beats are down.
Cancel that. Careful left.
Fenrir's mid, so I should be good here. I mean, oh fuck. I can't buy it because I'm an idiot. Do they have crit? They don't have crit. Fuck. Field of the Phoenix it is, I guess. It's really not what I was trying to buy. Let's go for something like Turfing last. Though I think I'll take my gold for my starter instead. Big that he survived.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack. What a shame.
Smart minds think alike. It's the words. Oh, is he out? Well, probably just ults out.
Lightning bolt.
On my way. Defend. Defend.
Enemies have returned.
Oh, I mean the Scylla? Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Probably just because Scylla has so much ways of self healing now. Like her 2 just leaves a slow on the ground that is fucking impossible to go through. I actually do want to play more Scylla. If it wasn't because we ended up in a tank meta, I actually would have played some more Scylla. The slow just feels so OP.
Be careful.
I mean, they still have fire, right? Sobek doesn't, at least, but... No, they don't have fire anymore. They must have just run out. It's nearing that time. They didn't do anything with that fire.
Your right tower is under attack. Your left tower.
I wish I was 20 so badly. My ult was pretty bad there as well. I think they get fire, but at least we defend it.
Your left Phoenix is under attack.
I think Nikai's just having fun. And he's cooked. He's absolutely cooked it.
Attack.
I'm not 20 yet!
Your team has destroyed the gold Fury.
Finally. I mean, I think I just go for Pen last, because Fenrir is a literally full tank as well. I can't believe how many times people are calling me while I'm streaming. Who is it? I can't see it. My phone is too far away charging.
Be right back.
destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Ultimate is ready. Follow me.
The rain shall wash them away. Enemies incoming left.
That's unfortunate.
Lightning bolt. Let the head lightning rain.
The party's good.
Thunderbolts of lightning. Very, very.
It is cooked, man.
Your middle phoenix is under attack.
I mean, why are you walking up every time? I mean, it actually did get him, so I don't think they end because of that. This game is just so stupid. I have such a hard time. How am I at top damage? What am I even doing? I don't feel like I'm top damage when I'm in these fights. I will actually pick something good next game. I'm making this much harder for myself. I will admit though, I actually think this Zeus is performing alright so far.
Keep well stocked.
And I think it would have been even better if I was actually into a melee character over Aladdin.
Be right back.
Is that with pen? It is.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your right tower is under attack. Enemies and survive the giant.
Are you fucking dash back up?
Free your soul.
Okay. Why do we have 2 people dead? Fuck me, dude. That felt like it should have been a good fight. Subek's dash was back up. I still have 3 lash stacks as well, which is really not ideal. Should have used those when I had the chance. I'm really trying to focus Fenrir. I think that's maybe where I'm going wrong as well. I'm way too hard on trying to focus Fenrir, and it just doesn't matter because he's full tank, and it's really not the one I should be focusing.
The party's this way.
The enemy team has destroyed the fire giant.
1-for-1 is still good.
Defend middle lane. On my way. Enemies at the Gold Fury.
Don't need that much gold.
The Pyro has arrived. The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Enemies in left lane. Help!
What is wrong with the fucking Naga minions? Some abilities just don't hit them. It's so fucking weird. Like my chain lightning doesn't work on them. Oh well. Dude, I don't know. It's been bothering me with the Naga as well. It's not just the Naga minions, but also the Naga. Some abilities literally just don't hit them. There's no way that's intended, and it's been like that for fucking forever. I think Thana 1 also doesn't hit them. But Chain Lightning, Thana 1 I guess I could maybe see, because it's something that scales off of HP and shit. I could see that being some weird kind of interaction there, but I don't understand why my Chain Lightning wouldn't hit them. I could do more Sarky. At this point, I'm just gonna actually do some, I guess, try-hard picking. Because if you don't, then you're meeting people that do, and you can't have fun. I know that though, but still. Despite my score, I do think this game went okay for me. It's just impossible to deal with someone like Fenrir if you don't have something that can just shred super easily, which I do think we have. We kind of like initiate if you don't get a good flop with this team comp. But yeah, whatever. I'll give it another shot. It doesn't really help when we're against like Sav and Nika, because that does make it a lot harder. I almost saw Fenrir had jumped out with 10. Yeah, he's. I tried to get back to you in time, but they just all showed up. So I do think we had a very legit chance of winning this game if we could just have fucking grouped. But like Isa always went by herself. Sometimes I was the one that got caught because I thought they were all gonna be in left for some reason. Yeah, it was tough. We just didn't group enough, because I think we can absolutely one-shot someone like Fenrir. I do think we have a terrible comp into Fenrir though, because who's gonna CC him? Like Bacchus is too slow, like way too slow CCs to get a Fenrir. I need my Chain Lightning on him, or my 3 stacks to get an instant stun. And besides from that, like our comp is terrible into Fenrir. Outside of Scylla, Scylla's good, but we did not have what was needed. But part of that is obviously on me for picking something like a Zeus, but it worked in the during the laning phase. Just didn't work once we started rotating and we didn't really fight back. So then I just kind of died. Oh, he didn't have poly? Yeah, I mean, that would have helped as well. I didn't actually realize. It does a pretty low damage for a Scylla, but... Yeah. Tough game. You know, maybe what I do is I swap my role. Maybe I just don't feel like playing solo right now. But at the same time, do I want to do I want to play ADC or mid into a solo lane or not? Really? I don't know. Yeah, whatever. We'll just queue. Whatever happens, happens. Can I try getting a Sumo Kong in mid? Nah, I don't really want to play as Sumo Kong. I'll just rather play like a frontline right now. I think I'll just pick something like a Bracken or some shit like that. That doesn't really have a bad matchup. And just have fun with that. They do a lot of damage. Can I even stop that somehow? Doesn't seem like it. I think I can stop this one, maybe. No. Ouch, it's gonna hurt then. I feel like I'm kind of just bored of Sun Wukong especially, because I played him a lot when he came out, and I thought the int stuff is really fun. And it still is, I guess. If I pick it, I'm not gonna have fun with it. But he's very samey. Like, you just do the same thing the whole game. You literally have one job, and that's press 1. It does get pretty boring. And yeah, I mean, I'll do that sometimes, but I'm not in the mood right now to do that. This Bacchus is really high elo too. I wonder if, like, I don't really recognize the name, so I don't know if he actually is good. I wonder if he's just been carried by the Bacchus, the OP Bacchusness. But who knows, maybe he is really good. I always wonder when you see new names though. Why am I doing less damage? Oh, I guess there was a debuff. Yeah, I don't think I'll play Guardian here. Odin would be so boring though. Fuck, man. There it is. That does limit my picks a lot if I want to jump. There goes the one I was thinking of. Alright, not Sephiroth then. Man! Do I just pick Hades tank? Like, Hades tank should be good. Or is good, just no one really does it. And then I'll have a jump. At the same time though, Hades into Sephiroth sounds like it's so unfun in this meta. I don't want to heal him too much.
Select your god.
And this doesn't seem like a Bologna game either, because they have so much self-peel. Can't really stick to them very well. I mean, fuck me, dude. Do I just have to go Wukong? Am I really just stuck there with Wukong? Sheesh. Sheesh. I'll do Chuck. Let's be extra boring then. was my plan? I want to go for this one, right? That shop up there. Let's hope RNG doesn't fuck me here. I don't really have a card I want to upgrade, to be honest with you. I barely even have any cards. Let's upgrade poison.
Greetings. Shh, silence. My humble apologies. My humble apologies.
Oh, yes!
Enjoy this fine day, please.
Okay. I'm on.
Pandemonium!
That's too bad.
Alright, palate cleanse, boys. Palate cleanse. I'm starting to wake up a little bit. I'm not that tired anymore. For some reason. I guess I just had fun playing Zeus. Maybe that's what I needed. I just needed to have a little bit of fun.
No! All attack!
And then I picked Chuck. What the fuck am I doing? What am I even against? Cerberus? I already picked some of this I thought it was against Odin, man.
Minions have spawned.
This is not going to be a very interesting lane. It's going to be very, very boring. And I don't think I can win it either, because I'm non-aspect Chuck. So I will just be healing him with my 3. Having fun by winning? Well, kind of. I think winning is fun, but it's not my main drive. Like, I had enough fun in that Zeus game, I think, to maybe wake me up a little bit. I suspect.
Enemy missing.
Be right back!
Enjoy this fine. Thanks.
It's not aspects.
It'll be fine. Help! 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 My humble.
Chock full of surprises.
just magnificent.
Be right back. Be careful, middle.
Duck ass is the main drive, understandable. I could see it. I'm just gonna have 3 leftover pots for the rest of this game, don't I? Smart. TP into that. I didn't notice. Did I get XP for that?
You are delightful.
I must have.
Yes.
Enemy spotted! Your middle tower is under attack. Hasta la vista, amigo! Enemy spotted!
Completed.
The rain shall wash them away! Your left tower is under attack.
Am I not
Enemy
just
missing right.
Maybe I should have gone Devos.
It'll be fine.
I can still do that second, I suppose, but... I'm not really feeling the lifesteal build right now.
Well, arcane accidents happen. Enemy missing.
Yeah, I apologize for being a bit of a doomer today, guys. Just what I become when I'm tired. Can't help it.
Am I not just magnificent?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Did not mean to press that, but I did. I don't think I win these traits until I have... He also has a full item. Frickin' Sanguine is so expensive.
Thanks.
Don't know if jungler is nearby, so I'm just gonna chill.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing right. Your under attack.
How exuberant.
Might just try and go for a full tank chalk build. See how that feels now. And just rely on the yellow damage. Like, surely it can't be bad. Especially because you can just run regrowth as
Your
well.
right tower is under attack.
What tosh?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Enemy missing middle.
Your left tower is under attack.
Random frog. Almost got frogged again, just like yesterday. I still haven't tried Bacchus. I probably would enjoy it. I like Bacchus.
Wash them away.
There was for a time I was really trying to make him a solo laner. That was in Smite 1 though. But he was terrible at that. He just didn't have the wave clear needed. He was a great frontliner and great at backline killing once you get to team fighting, but he just wasn't a good laner. Now he is in Smite 2, and he was really OP for a while in Smite 2, but I think I'm still traumatized by that, because I had to play him every game. Odin, Bacchus every fucking game at the beginning of Smite 2. I think that's why I don't like any of them now. Because I was playing competitive at the time, so I had to play them.
Cancel that.
Cancel that!
Nice job. Incoming rush. The pyro has arrived.
Be careful.
On my way. I'll gank left lane.
Gank right lane. It'll be fine. Attack.
Enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed the pyromans.
It'll be fine.
atoms
See you later.
Farewell and
These are also being changed next patch. I think that's an interesting change, as well as the Warhorn is being changed too. No longer will it give me 1 perma cooldown; it will give me 10 for 16 seconds, or for 60 seconds, I should say. And something else that I forgot. Like, this is the type of shit. If I want to win every game, or at least, like, do the best that I could, this is the type of shit I would play and how I would build. Every game. And maybe I have to, at least just to get up to deity again. I might just have to. But it's not particularly interesting. Somehow you end up having the same playstyle on every god you play just because of this. It does get pretty boring after a while.
On my way.
Be right back.
Enemy missing right. The Pyromancer has arrived. Ward here. On my way. On my way. Okay. On my way. Rain shall wash them away. Fabuloso. The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Enemy slain. Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower. Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Okay.
I mean, we're 10k ahead, so I suppose that makes sense. Didn't realize how far ahead we were.
Victory.
Oh my god, make the ticking stop. I still heard the music as well. Jesus, okay. With my last few losses, I gotta just play the OP stuff, I suppose. Try to help myself in the way that I can. Discount all products is very good, but it's very useful right now. Yes, it is. I can almost buy everything. Not bad, actually. Great. I should have used my strength potion. That's not the card I should have used first. Fuck. Damn it. That's not bad. Let's do that. Did we get babied? Oh, either we got babied or they're hella stacked on the enemy team. And I'm actually gonna have to check. Okay, never mind. Oh, I guess we did. Maybe we didn't get babied, but the queue did split. They're in a different game. Okay. Oh shit, I'm banning. And I gotta turn in some light at this point. Shit's dark. Spend the Wukong over the Nem in this case. I think Nem, like, Nem is more manageable, I feel like,
Your god.
than Wukong, unless the person is good. I have no idea what to buy. Buy. Play. I'll do Bologna again. Actually, I should use this one, now that I have it. The Weep skin. I don't think I've used it before. I forgot where I got it. Actually, it's probably just a classic skin chest, right? Right, there's this number that keeps trying to call me. Let me see. What are you? Been calling way too much the last few days. Okay, that is just the top tier seller that keeps calling me the last few days. So it's just been the same fucking caller, man. Go away. I usually block those numbers, but they called 4 times. They've literally called me every week this day. What? Every day this week? What the fuck? Brain? There is definitely something off with my brain today. Well, now I don't need this shop. So, let's go for the RNG. Ooh, just a free upgrade. I'll take it. What do you do? I mean, this one is really good. Because that means I will start with that card. That card is great. Ah, fuck, I didn't realize there's gonna be a boss coming up. What am I against? Bots? Is it aspect bots I'm against?
You'll never know
I'll
where
try and
this
start
takes
with
us.
Vital Lamp. Yeah, and in my case, I've definitely lost a bit now. Because how many was it? 3 or 4 games in a row I lost today. So I need 2 more wins. Maybe just 1 actually, because I won my first game today. Then I lost 3 in a row. Now I won 1. So if we win another one, I've made up at least. Then I'm just back to 0. Then we can only move up from there.
Minions have spawned.
I need the jungle buff.
Have a slaying time.
I'm on it. Enemy missing
Okay,
middle.
if he's starting lane as well, that's good for me.
Enemy missing. Enemy spotted.
Okay.
Death child, my friends. Not like I want to go for blue at level 1 though. I'll stick around.
Enemy missing.
Etha! Stop playing like shit, thank you.
So mad. And loud. I'm glad I turned down everything. Because he would have been extra loud, I feel like.
Be careful. Enemy missing.
Damn. Do I have to be careful if they're missing? I really want this kill while he's low. Fuck.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Nah, I know. Good luck, guys. You're so bad. Etha, stop playing as my thing.
Completed.
I hate people like this Gep so much. For obvious reasons. I feel like most normal people will hate people like that. Hopefully, Iznami just mutes him.
You're going nowhere.
I'm not sure leveling Bludgeon here is the right choice. I think I'll level my 3, because he's just gonna interrupt it every time.
I'm not done with you.
Your left tower.
He's actually just giving up farm for this.
I collect rewards. Lovely addition.
Your left tower is under attack.
Spots is very aggressive. Good for me.
I need a jungle-worthy shimmer in time.
Your left tower is under attack.
I really want to back, but I don't want to do it until I can finish my items.
No talking. Don't worry so much.
Your right tower is under attack.
Almost grabbed my beats.
Take cover.
It was almost too early. I might just delay Sanguine more in this game than I usually do, because I want attack speed a bit earlier. I think I go regrowth next. No, never mind. It's stupid. Every time I think about it, it's just... Sanguine is just too powerful. That would be silly.
Cut like a master's edge.
Your left tower. Your middle tower is under attack.
Yes.
Tower is under attack.
Retreat. I'm not done with you.
Not having any of it.
Save yourself.
This is a bad call, we shouldn't have done that. Wait, how did that not cleanse? I guess it was already in the air? That's weird. Would have thought that was gonna cleanse the pluck. Bots is losing so much farm.
Your right tower is under attack.
Oh, it's a rage on who you as well.
You'll get wrinkles.
Like, bots is really not good, so I think we can take advantage of that, even if our Izanami isn't great.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold.
It's gonna suck in terms of objectives, though, because they'll definitely get a bunch of golds out of it.
Your left tower is under attack.
Gank left lane. Gank left lane.
Enemy has been slain.
Not to mention we have Apollo and Sarkio on Apollo, so we have an ADC on our team at least. That can perform.
Enemy missing right.
A
Enemy
glimmering.
missing right.
Hello.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Retreat.
You think you scare me?
Your middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, bots is really not good, unfortunately.
Be careful in the jungle. know.
I'm not done with you. Bring it on,
Bam.
demonkind.
Oops. A little bit of an oopsie on my part.
Middle tower is under attack.
Now's your chances.
Have no fear.
Cut like a master's edge.
No, man.
Think you scare me?
Enemy missing middle.
Do feel bad for bots, but I kind of have to take advantage of him right now in this game.
Have no fear.
Let's actually finish this up. Should be much easier to chase once I have this.
Be careful in the jungle.
You're going nowhere. You think you scare me?
Your middle tower is under attack.
We will end you.
Your team has destroyed the pyramid. Your right tower is under
I'll
attack.
defend left lane.
On my way.
Defend middle lane. Defend middle lane. Okay.
Your left tower is under attack.
Have no fear.
Enemy has been slain.
I mean, this is just kind of strange. He even has a very strange build. Something just up. Dude, I don't know why this guy is in this game. Something fucked up in the matchmaking, it feels like. If you told me he's only been playing for a few weeks, like, I would probably believe you. And I really don't mean that to disrespect them. Or say that to disrespect them, it's just... You guys see what's happening. Something ain't right.
Be right back.
Be careful.
Bring it on, demonkind.
I didn't expect 4 people here. I mean, if we get gold, that's fine, but what the fuck, man? Hello? Don't let who you steal. Thank God.
Destroyed the gold fury.
Phew. Loki, ult,
Enemy
bots, whatever, it doesn't even matter.
Your middle tower
Loki ult's the most important one.
Ally has been slain.
I mean, I don't know, Sarky, I feel like that one probably was on yourself, to be honest.
Your middle tower
I'm not done with you.
Didn't feel like a great fight to take, but maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see the full picture. All I saw was you very out of position.
enemy
Who got the kill?
Your right tower is under attack.
I can't believe I missed that.
Left tower is under attack.
In the jungle. Be careful in the jungle.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. The pyromancer has arrived.
Gotta stop missing my ult. It's a 4v2 here before I get there. Fucking up. That's unfortunate.
Think you scare me?
Your middle tower is under attack.
I can't believe the queue gets split for something like this, though. I legitimately think that the matchmaking is... There's something wrong with it right now. It has to be glitched. Something is just not adding up.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyromancer. Your right tower will be destroyed. Your right tower is under attack.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop ulting for bots unless I know I kill him. I don't want to do it just for chasing anymore.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Ultimate.
Well, that sucks. Surely we at least get the kill here, Isa. Let me see what's happening here. Dude, bots and Isa are not supposed to be in these games. Because they're on the same level, right? It seems. Ish. Potentially. But everyone else is not the case. I mean, even bots is better than the Izanami, it seems.
Oh, he's the wrong team. I am sorry.
I need guys. Stat.
Like, she probably dies here either way. Her cooldowns are way longer than his. But...
Your right tower is under attack.
once I have Death's Embrace, it's gonna be a bit easier to do what I need to do.
Ally has been slain. Awesome!
You're going nowhere.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Amigo! Awesome! Nice job!
The fight for level 20.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. The pyromancer has arrived.
I'm not done with you.
Yeah, I should have just backed. I didn't think that my death was more important than them just pushing somewhere else. I mean, every lane is getting pushed. I mean, boys, you have fire. Go push something.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Left lane.
But I suppose it is. I'm probably the only threat on our team at the moment. Like, Apollo is too, but in terms of like the biggest threat, I probably am.
Destroyed a left enemy tower.
Still bail some defense into their comp here.
Your right Phoenix is under attack.
Attack! You're going nowhere!
Wash them away.
Chase the enemy.
On my way.
Enemy has been slain.
Huge.
Be careful. Ultimate is down.
His speed buff? Oh my god, his jump is so far.
Wash them away.
Person in the cage.
You guys feel that adrenaline?
How does that not reach? Fuck me.
Your middle tower is under attack.
So close.
Ward the fire giant.
Defend the fire giant.
You're going nowhere!
Bellona's 3 should also get longer with Int. Bellona Int build would be something crazy. You would just fully rely on your 2.
Enemy missing. Enemies at the fire giant.
Enemy has been slain.
Defend the fire giant.
Yeah, man. It's what I would have expected, I suppose. Um...
Think you scare me?
Oh man. Bad position by me. They're just fucking looking for me, man. Why am I staying up? This does feel like it's been the case for the majority of today, though, where the enemy just have more brain cells. Let's go in, man. It's getting low. Get him, Isa. You have to get him. He didn't pick up dagger, but at least they got a kill. What is he building? He does no damage. I guess he's just behind. He wouldn't do no damage. I mean, turfing isn't great, but shouldn't be that low. I do think, yeah, Starkey has to chill a little bit, because we can't rely on our team to follow up as easily. So ulting into too many people is just a bad idea right now. And in that situation right there, I wasn't in position to help him either. So it was a bit fucked.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I wish they didn't have Sobek this game, though. I can't stick to anyone very easily because of Sobek. He's just fully trying to peel, and he's playing it like, as he should. That's the worst case scenario for me right now. That's the reason why Sobek was always counterpicked into Bologna when Bologna was OP in certain metas. Right there. Their bots is as confused as our Izanami though, so I think that's a big deal, because that means they won't have an extra front line that we have to deal with, but he will automatically always be more useful than Izanami because he's bots. So that ultimate can still make a difference. While Izanami is just generally not going to be super useful, but he did get one kill there, so I don't want to just count him out.
On my way. On my way.
Fuck. Oh, he did block himself in, dude. What the fuck was it with all the shields? These are Bloodforge? Are you telling me that was one shell? That was a huge shield. I beat too late for the Sobek knockups and shit as well. think I need some kind of extra
Is under attack.
defense here. So let's go Spitter Rope. Sobek just fucking perma CCs me. Hey Cherry, thank you for the raid. I didn't even hear my my sound effect. Did it just happen? My bad if it's late.
Be careful.
Enemy has been slain.
Like a master's edge.
On my way. Be careful.
Be careful. Enemy ultimate incoming.
No fear. You're going nowhere. We will.
Rain shall wash them away.
Middle lane. Middle lane.
That worked out somehow.
Very, very scary. Yeah.
I kind of just YOLO'd that, to be real with you. I saw who I decided to go for it. I didn't get to press all my lashes, I was too busy surviving. I might actually have survived if I didn't press my 2 and press 3 instead on the bots.
Enemy has been slain. Get in the shotgun.
I can't believe we won this one though. Like, despite everything. Well, I can't believe it, but I don't know. Today's games are really cursed. I think I might have to just stop because these games are kind of really unfun. Damn, they really had a fun time on the enemy team, it seems, in the comps. Yeah, so Sarky, the games today are kind of extra cursed, so I'm kind of debating on whether I should stop here, because these games are really, really stupid, to be real. Like, both teams had one player that was just absolutely not supposed to be in these games. So, I assume you haven't queued yet, because you may be also stopping, but I think I will do myself the favor and just stop now. I went 3-3 today. So I guess I'm just back where I began. Ish. At least we got to Masters 1 again. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's stop for today then, because today is fucking weird. Alright. Well, thank you guys for stopping by as usual. I really appreciate it. Hopefully the games will be better next time. We'll see. But yeah, and thank you for queuing, Sarky. But yeah, see you guys. Bye.